I've concluded my series on valuing the deep state in a blog post that looks back at the COVID pandemic and the lessons it teaches about the relationship between political leaders and their bureaucratic agents. The Deep State series was in general meant to defend the idea of bureaucratic autonomy, that is, the need to allow bureaucrats in the administrative state the freedom to make decisions within the overall policy guidance set by Congress or the President. Both autonomy and political control are necessary. The COVID pandemic provided examples of both phenomena. In the early days of the crisis, there was substantial deference to public health authorities, particularly in blue states, that were recommending things like hand washing, masks, social distancing, and shutdowns. In the first year of the pandemic, the very suggestion that there could be a trade-off between public health and other desirable social goods was condemned as an ignorant right-wing viewpoint. Many things changed over the next 2 years, however, that shifted public views. The disease itself evolved into a less deadly form. Many people were vaccinated or came down with COVID and gained immunity, and health officials learned a lot about the disease. The cost of shutdowns became more onerous as countless small businesses went bankrupt and parents were frustrated by prolonged school shutdowns. Public opinion therefore began to shift substantially, even in blue states, on deference to public health authorities. We should have learned a lesson about scientific expertise. Public health authorities changed their views on the benefits of measures like masking and social distancing, and on the origins of COVID itself in light of new studies and evidence. That is simply the nature of science, and there's no alternative to relying on the best scientific expertise that's available at the time. The autonomy and authority of health agencies needs to be preserved. On the other hand, it is clear that overall policy cannot be made by public health officials on their own. Epidemiologists will inevitably prioritize health over other kinds of social goods like economic growth or schooling. Balancing social goods ultimately needs to be done by political leaders who, in an ideal world, will make decisions carefully on the basis of the best empirical information. Unfortunately, the United States did not have such a leader during the first year of the pandemic. Instead, it had a president who was uninterested in empirical evidence and laser-focused on his own re-election. We've learned very little from the COVID pandemic as a country and are arguably worse prepared to meet the next epidemic that comes down the pike. Red states are now issuing detailed mandates prohibiting health authorities from mandating measures like masking and social distancing. We've managed to go from excessive deference to public health authorities to excessive politicization of them in the space of just 3 years. Whether the U.S. can find the right balance between autonomy and control is at present very questionable. Thanks for listening. If you're interested in the blog post on which this video is based, please go to Frankly Fukuyama at AmericanPurpose.com and consider subscribing.